reverse seared, grass-fed, 15-ounce ribeye steak with ghee. This is going to be the most important video I've ever made. If you're the kind of guy who likes the 3-second cut, constant Adobe Premiere type of excessive edits because you don't have the attention span, leave this video now because I don't do that. This is going to be very minimally edited for the elite people who still have their attention span intact. Who am I? I'm a person who quit my job. I used to work at Amazon. I used to work nights at Amazon. I did that for around 3 years, and I quit that back in June to pursue online entrepreneurship. I was working at Amazon, making literally £412 a week. So I'm documenting my journey from literally minus not even zero to £10,000 a month. Pounds, yes, because I'm in England. Diving right in, I want to share a short story, which essentially is I manifested my dream modeling job because I used to be a model. My first modeling job was actually for my dream brand, like my favorite brand. The brand was called Roxie, and I was like the first black person to ever model for them. So I say this because not only was it one of the most popular brands at the time back then, I was able to be the first black person to model for them, which I think in itself is quite miraculous. And essentially, I mention this story because I remember how I felt towards doing that. Like when I got confirmation that I was doing that job, like I remember feeling that such deep extensive self-doubt. I remember telling myself, like, I don't deserve stuff like this. Anytime stuff like this happens, bad things follow, and I can't sustain like success. Like it just didn't, it felt completely foreign to me to have any sort of success. And obviously inevitably, not too long after, I did end up modeling, but I did end up modeling for Gosha, but what had happened is the first time round, I missed my flight. Like, how do you even miss a flight, right? It was the very first time I was leaving the country, and I missed my flight because I didn't know how to navigate the airport, so I just got lost and ended up missing the flight. So I did get there eventually, but what had happened is they had to take the fee that was going to pay me to pay for another flight. So I did get there, but I didn't get paid in the end. I'd love to tell you that the story ends happy and it was all rosy and peachy, but long story short, my modeling career ended very abruptly, and it never really took off the ground because I didn't have the belief required. And the reason why this is so important is because if you don't believe you can do something, you're not going to allow yourself to do it. If 95% of your actions come from your unconscious and 5% come from your conscious, and for me, 95% of my unconscious didn't believe I could do anything. This is why I was always spinning the wheels when it came to modeling jobs. I'd get close, I'd get casted, and then it would just go away. And I just never really got that momentum. My whole modeling career was just an uphill battle. It was battling from job to job. Like I never really found my groove. It's because I didn't have the belief. The lack of belief prevented me from ever taking it to the next level. So that's my personal story. I want to now present some terms that you might resonate with and start by saying that you're using your friends and family to justify your failures. This might not be on a conscious level. It might be something you do without even realizing, so don't go attack me in the comments. But what I mean when I say this, when you embark on a new adventure, for example, you start a business like how I did back in, well, not June, but January. So I started a business. As I started to go on this journey, I realized just how much it takes to really get this business off the ground. Like obviously, when you have an element of success, keeping that momentum is a lot easier than starting out. But what you'll notice is it takes a lot of work, and everybody wants to feel justified in what they're doing. But what will happen is when you're doing all this work and everybody around you isn't, they're kind of just relaxing, they're happy where they are. Perhaps they've got limited stories of self-doubt and limitations and circumstance. Maybe they're waiting until the end of the year to start their journey, or maybe they're just justifying and rationalizing it. What that's going to do is it's going to slow you down on an unconscious level or a conscious level. Because if I took you out of your situation and put you around a group of entrepreneurs, that one change in itself is going to allow you to produce so much more work and be so much more consistent, because we kind of just succumb to the people who are surrounded by. And so if you've got this ego kick because you feel like you're doing better than all your contemporaries already because you've decided to go on a business, you're going to be a lot slower when it comes to the learning curve required to get the skills that you need. Like you're just going to be a lot slower when it comes to getting where you need to go because you've got these people around you that kind of justify it. You're like in your head, oh, like I'm doing good anyway. I've already started a business. Like I'm good, right? You're kind of good in the sense you have this sense of comfort, this sense of contempt towards your friends because you're like, I'm better than them in a sense, just because you're doing it, you're doing the work in a sense, and you'll justify it for yourself. Something else I want to touch on is small town syndrome. Going back to the point of me when I was younger and like not allowing myself to really feel success, it comes down to, well, one of the aspects anyway, is small town syndrome, which is essentially you grow up in a small town like I did, a town called Mansfield. And because the population is so small, everything going on around you so small, the conversations that the people in your area and the people in your life are having is just because it's so small. They're worried about the news. They're going on Facebook, like just gossiping about just random stuff what don't even make no sense. And because you're surrounded by this, you start to embody it and you lose perspective. Because, you know, one thing I've noticed, I know I've read 85 books this year. So what I'm trying to say is the smarter you get, the more you realize, like, I don't actually know that much. Like, I feel like I know less now after having read 85 books versus when I started out and I hadn't read any books. And it's not all the way true. Like, I feel confident in certain sections, but what I'm trying to say is in the grand scope of things, I realize now, because my perspective has been raised from these books, that, wait, I don't actually know that much, if you know what I mean. What I'm trying to say is there's a lot more to know. You know what I mean? Like, I understand a little bit more of how big the world is, and my small town syndrome is kind of just eroding away. Have you ever noticed that when you don't think you're good at something, you will sabotage ever getting good at it? If we talk about, for example, the 10,000 hour rule, which Angela Duckworth talks about, Malcolm Gladwell talks about, Matthew Syed talks about, this idea that it takes around 10,000 hours to truly master something. Even with that lens alone, if you start to look at anybody who's good at anything, just notice that they've spent a lot of time doing that particular thing. Whether it be Warren Buffett, really good investor, he was investing from a very young age, going inside the library and reading books like The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, reading about security analysis. So Warren Buffett has been investing and interested in businesses for a very long time. And anybody else, whether you look at certain musicians, certain sports players, whatever field you look at, anybody who's got exceptional skills because they've spent a lot of time towards it. What you should take from that is that you can get good at anything. There's a proven process behind everything. So nothing's just this thing what's out in the sky that some people are just born talented with. Everything, there's a proven process that you can break down into minute steps and just learn and just go on that learning curve. But if you're telling yourself, I'm not good at this, I can't do this, you're never going to go on that learning curve and you're never going to learn it. This is dangerous because if you're doing this for things that are important, like making money, managing money, like people think they're bad at managing money, it's random stuff like that, and these beliefs based on past experiences, because we experience things, we create stories, and then we tell ourselves stories based on the things we've experienced, which is the wrong way to go about life. So it's crippling. And, you know, even if you are practicing something but you're telling yourself you're bad at it, you're going to sabotage it on an unconscious level. For example, I'm post on YouTube every week, and for the first 2 months, I was telling myself that I don't know how to do this. So every time I pull out the camera, there's this deep resistance that, you know, you can't speak on camera very well, the videos aren't properly structured, nobody's going to watch them, like all these different elements what was going around in my mind, what prevented me from making content that people can resonate with. That's just one example. Another example being sales. I'm telling myself I'm bad at sales, I'm introverted, I don't like talking to people. So anytime I go on a sales call, I'm clamming up like crazy because I don't even want to talk to the prospect. Like I kind of want them to no-show. I want them to no-show because then that takes that pressure off of me because I'm not good at sales, I don't want to do it. Like it's crazy. Like it makes sense why we do this, why we let ourselves get away with these thoughts what we have, because it's logical, it's realistic. I think being realistic is very dangerous because you're going to end up with all these different beliefs, all these limiting beliefs, because, you know, I'm just being realistic, I'm just keeping it real. Be careful if you're around people who put these boxes on you because they're trying to keep it real. Very, very, very be very careful. I want to warn the person who grew up being told that they're talented, because talent, the fact that you're naturally good at something, kind of feeds into this whole idea that, you know, you can't just learn anything you want to learn and everybody's got these genetic skills and makeups. So, like for me, for example, I was told I was very talented, like I was God's gift, right? Like I was the goose that laid golden eggs. So that was the narrative growing up. And the shortcomings of that is anytime I face any obstacle, like for any sort, it could be the most minute detail, the narrative I'm telling myself, okay, this is not for me, I'm going to do something else. You get boxed in this idea because you feel like your talents can only stretch so far. So be careful about that if you are somebody who was told and believe that you currently are really talented against certain things and are not talented against others. Because you can do literally anything. Just learn the skills, break the skills down, and go on a path to learning them step by step. Overcome self-doubt, overcome resistance. Summarizing this, one book I would recommend for the person who wants to learn more about beliefs and stuff like this is, it's a weird book, but stay with me on this one. It is Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. The reason why I recommend this book is because it's actually the first book I read, even though it's a marketing book, it's like a business book. It's the first book I read what gave me awareness on this idea of self-belief. Now, he wasn't trying to teach me directly, he was saying that if you are to sell to somebody, you need to overcome their limiting beliefs. So the one thing that he said that really stuck with me is talking about how when we make an experience and we create stories to justify the experience, go on the point that I mentioned earlier, he said there's 3 different types of stories what we tell ourselves that limit us in our ability to do things. So one story is about the self. So, okay, like I said, the talented person, oh, this is not for me. Like, I don't resonate with this. Like, my talents don't stretch that far. Like, this is just not my personality type. But then we've got external factors. What will they think to me? What will my friends think? What will my family think? What will my spouse think? What will people in my friend group think? Maybe, just maybe, this will be on an unconscious level, and how that will feel is you won't allow yourself to fully adopt the characteristics of the thing you're trying to become, the thing you're trying to attain, the thing you're trying to learn. Like if you're trying to become an entrepreneur and make 10,000, 20,000 a month, but you're surrounded by all your friends, you might block yourself on an unconscious level based on what they might think, because you don't want to outshine them and you don't want to come across egotistical because you have bigger goals. That's just maybe one example that you might resonate with. And then another one is circumstantial. So the person who's holding it off because they're waiting until next week, they're waiting until New Year's Eve, they're waiting for the economy to recover, they're waiting for the interest rates to go down. Like, that's what I learned from Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets. I recommend you read all 3. It's expertsecrets.com secrets and traffic secrets. If you're trying to start a business, I recommend you read all 3. Very good books. But from me, that's all, and I will see you next week.